Good morning. It's May 22nd, 2022, and we're back on our home base out here in Pennsylvania. And while we were away, we ordered an auxiliary fuel tank. This one here is a 33-gallon fuel tank. Some of you will probably say, oh, well, if you're going to put one in, why do we go bigger? Well, number one, we have to worry about weight. This is going to be an extra 200 pounds when full of fuel, and we tow a fifth wheel. So we had to keep in mind that we didn't want to go too big. Number two, I wanted something shallow enough that I could put my tonneau cover back over the top of it when we're not towing. Okay? So this one here is the RDS Model 71804, the 33-gallon. It is meant for diesel. It has a certification plate over here from the manufacturer. Diesel fuel only. Okay, just because you have a gasser doesn't mean you can have one of these. One of the reasons they don't really want you to have one of these in a gasser is if you're in an accident, it becomes a bomb. At diesel fuel, it's not as dangerous. Okay, so another reason we picked the model was the fuel fill. It's on the same side as the fuel fill on my truck. So one thing that they changed since I looked at the pictures is they have changed the fill cap. Now what's nice about the fill cap, I can now put a trucker's nozzle in here when I go through those truck lanes to get my fuel. Okay, and if you notice, it's notched out and has a bunch of holes in here, so I'll be able to match this up with the hole someplace and be able to put a lock on it. Okay, it has a vent on top. It has a fuel gauge on top.
Can you see it?
Okay, yeah, you got it.
Okay.
All right, my photographer is my lovely and only wife, Oma
I hope.
Marie. Okay, I'm not sure what the extra 2 taps are for here. I'm sure there's a reason that they're there, but here's the tap that I'll be using down here in the bottom corner. Okay, now this is going to be a gravity feed installation. So after I get the tank installed, they give you some neoprene to put the tank on top of so it doesn't scratch a hole through the bottom while it's riding in the bed of your truck, and the mounting hardware. I'll show you that later when we get that installed. I purchased from a local automobile store some rubber grommets. I'm going to use this large one to pass the hose, the fuel hose, from inside the cab down to the attachment I have to put on. So let me just skip forward for a second. This is the kit that I had to buy for a GMC. Okay. The hoses are provided if you have a metal fill tube. I don't have a metal fill tube, so I won't have to use these. So I'm basically going to install this in line with my fill tube and make sure that this is vertical. On top of that, I'm going to put this check valve looking thing. Okay, it's going to be mounted on top. Okay, and when the fuel passes through here, since it's gravity feed, once it sees fuel up into the neck of the fill, it will stop the flow of fuel. That's the way it's supposed to work anyway. So the rest of this is just some hose clamps and wire ties. And of course, my valve for the bottom of the tank, which has a ball valve to shut it off. Okay? All right. Now, and the hose to run from both connections. In addition to this, I was talking to Steve. Steve, if you're watching, from the Traveling Browns. I think that's safe to say.
Yes.
Steve from the Traveling Browns. That he told me that he actually added a fuel filter. Something to catch any dirt that may end up in this tank. I don't think it's really meant for water, but I'm sure if it's laying there and I see water sitting in the bottom, be a good indicator to probably change it. But I'm going to put this in line between the tank and where it fills up. Okay? Now to install it, they only gave me 2 hose clamps, which I'm not really crazy about. I prefer these pressure connectors like this, where you squeeze them together. These type of clamps, they usually work better. Okay, and then I have a couple other choices if I need it. So I bought some Dorman hose clamp assortments. Okay,
get that close
part
up.
number 55173. And go back to the grommets, it's 02365. And the fuel filter, if you're interested, is a Napa fuel filter I bought online. This is intended for diesel. It is a 3972. Okay? So, more importantly is I'm going to want to be able to change that fuel filter. And once I get the tank installed, I'm not going to have a lot of room back there in the back corner. So, thanks to Steve, he showed me about this nice little tool to make my life easier. So, once I have the hose on there, in fact, I'll just go ahead and put the end of the hose on there. Once you have the hose on the end of that, after a while it's a little hard to pull off, especially after it's been crimped for a while. If you just stick this between the hose and the filter and squeeze, as you can see,
come right off.
It pops the hose right off. Instead of, I know a lot of guys out there, you're pulling on it, you break the end of the connector, or something goes wrong. But he told me about this tool, and I said, that sounds like it's worth my investment. So again, I got this on Amazon. It's called a Tool Whiz.
I'm going to come a little closer.
Yep. Oil pipe, oil tube remover. The Vita, V-I-T-T-A, oil pipe, oil tube. That's all it has. It don't even have any part numbers on it. Okay? So, I'm sure you'll find it. So, the next thing I'll show you is, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove this. Hopefully, Oma's got all the information off of it. Oh, I hate it when that happens, especially on a nice aluminum tank. But I'll work on trying to get this off, and if I can't get it all off, we'll find something to get it off. Okay, so next step you'll see is when we get it in there, get it where we want to put it, and start measuring things out. So that's it for today.